Hey everybody, it's good to be able to come to you again today and just kind of share some time and share some of my thoughts with you as we continue to look at principles of transformation. You know, as many of you know, one of the things that I like to talk about a lot, in fact, is one of my most favorite sayings, and that is, if you can change your thoughts, you can change your life. And I want to talk to you for just a few moments about that very concept. If you can change your thoughts, you can change your life. Now, as I begin to think about that and I begin to think about how to put this particular segment together, I ran across an old quote that we have all heard at some point in our lives. Many of us may have heard it all of our lives. And unfortunately, when we get older, we have embraced that thought, we have embraced that belief, and it really does prevent us from seeking greater levels of personal transformation. What that's saying is this. I'm sure that you all heard it. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. And now, while I don't really know how accurate that is because I've never really tried to teach an old dog new tricks, what I am aware of is that many people reach a certain age in their life and, they say, well, I'm old, I can't learn new things, I'm set in my ways. When I get old, when people get old, it's difficult to change. I've been this way all of my life. This is just the way that I am, and on and on and on and on. But in reality, how true is that? Now, though it may be true for dogs, isn't it a great thing that we as human beings aren't dogs? So we could say, well, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but then again, since we're not dogs, is it possible for us to learn? Because the basic idea, the premise behind that thought is that it's very difficult to teach someone new skills or to change someone's habits or their character. That's basically what is wrapped up in that notion of not being able to teach an old dog new tricks. But here's the thing. The Buddha said the only thing that's constant is change. Change is the only thing that remains constant throughout life. Everything is always changing. You're not the same person that you were when you first started listening to this particular video cast. I'm not the same person that I was when I first started listening to this video cast. So you see, everything changes. Change is the only constant in life. Now, there's a very interesting thing about the human mind, and we refer to it as neuroplasticity. Now, I'm not going to delve too deep into the idea of neuroplasticity, so don't worry, I'm not about to give you a teaching on neurology. But I do want to talk about the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. This is something that many neurosurgeons are beginning to understand, and this is something that they use when they're going about to help people to recover from certain brain injuries. They understand that the brain has a natural tendency to reorganize itself. This is why, if you find people, let's say that they lose their sight later in life, the brain will compensate itself in another area of our senses. So, someone may become more sensitive to touch. They may become more sensitive in terms of intuition. Their sense of touch, especially, you'll notice a lot of people who have visual impairments, when they're trying to understand the look of someone, they will feel their face. The brain will overcompensate and balance itself out with another area of our neurology, because the brain will reorganize itself. It has the ability to build and to establish new neural connections. That's what forming habits is really all about. We form habits because we get in the practice of doing something over and over and over and over, and before we know it, that behavior has become a habit. It may become a personality trait because those neural connections will now connect themselves together. And the next thing that you know, many of us are doing many things subconsciously because these neural connections have fused themselves together. And someone said that neurons that fire together, they wire together. And so it just becomes habit. It becomes pattern. And a lot of it is based upon repetition. Now, if you think about that, the same thing applies when we're learning new skills, when we're learning new languages, when we're learning new activities. Repetition. We're doing it over and over and over, and the neurons that are firing together begin to wire together. It's like learning how to ride a bike. You know, it's something new. And so we begin to ride it. And then the next thing you know, we can subconsciously or we can unconsciously, let's say, ride a bicycle. Same thing happens when we're learning how to drive. When we learn any new skill, any new activity, repetition. It's by doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. So when it comes to the human, we can learn new skills. It doesn't matter how old we are. Your neurons self-replicate every number of years. So even your neurons that exist within our body, those neural networks, they self-regenerate. That is one of the most powerful things about human beings. This is why we can learn. This is why we can change. This is why we can live transformed lives. You don't have to be the same way that you are. You don't have to be stuck. You don't have to get to the place to say, I've always been this way. I'm old. I can't learn new things, because you can't teach new dogs, or you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Number one, you're not a dog. Number two, you are ever changing. Now, the key to this is to take control of the change process, to be on the cause side of the change process instead of on the effect side of the change process. There are numerous tools, techniques, disciplines that we can embrace in our lives to take control of that change. Some of those tools, some of those techniques can be meditation, visualization. Some people find the process of hypnosis to be very powerful. NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming, prayer, reading, introspection, where we actually sit down and we really go inward and we begin to look inward at those processes and those strategies that we're using during the course of the day. We can change strategies. We can embrace new strategies. We can embrace new attitudes. Another tool, another technique could be focus intention. That is, what is your intention? What are those things that really at the core of your being is motivating you towards reaching the outcomes and the goals that you desire? And then you begin to focus your attention on those things, because as you know, and as I know, whatever you focus upon increases. Whatever you focus upon will strengthen itself. Another one is a desire to learn, and this may perhaps be one of the most underutilized disciplines that we as people actually engage in. That is, keeping that desire to learn new things, not settling for less than, just settling for good. And I love the saying, if better is available, good is just not good enough. Then, of course, keeping your curiosity fired. Keep that curiosity. Be curious about life. Be curious about yourself. Be curious about other people. If there's some skill sets that you want to learn, if there are some things that you want to learn musically or academically, whatever it may be, find some individuals who have succeeded and exceeded their own expectation in those areas, and find out what are the strategies that they use. How are they doing what they're doing? What is their mentality about what they're doing? What are their beliefs about themselves? What are their beliefs about the world? And I'm not saying that you have to copy anybody. No, be an original. Be the original you. But find those individuals who have succeeded in those things that you desire. Find out what their strategies are. Be curious about what they've done. And you too will find yourself having the same level of success or more. Never measure your success by the accomplishment of other people, but use the success of others to keep in your mind the fact, if they can do it, I can do it. If anyone has achieved it, I can achieve it. Even if no one has ever done it before, I may be the person that actually accomplishes it. Well, I hope that you found something in this talk, this conversation that we're having. Because of course, as I always say, I'm just thinking. But I want you to remember something. Although you may not be able to teach an old dog new tricks, you are not a dog. Your brain will self-organize. Find some disciplines, find some techniques that you can use that fit your life, and be the you that you have the potential to become. Have a great day.